Next, Lisa Ferguson and Jeremy have put together a fabulous production from their time in Paris, and I'll let you talk about that because I don't know what else you do in the world besides action as a citizen climate activist.
Sure. Thanks, Betsy. So I'm the founder of an organization called Climate Compassion, and it's about creating opportunities for community to come together to respond to our genuine compassion for the suffering caused by climate disruption. And it's also about self-compassion and creating a climate of compassion and working towards social justice as well. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about some other climate reality stories, in particular stories that I encountered people in Paris. But let me ask a question first. Who here has ever been arrested at a demonstration? All right, a couple people. And who might be willing to be arrested at a climate or other demonstration? Yeah, thank you. So at the end of COP21, there was a red lines demonstration that was a citizens demonstration. It was meant to say there are red lines that you cannot cross. It was a message to world leaders. And prior to that journey, I were part of a training in civil disobedience. And they were telling us what to do if we were tear gassed. You know, bring baby wipes, put Nail-X in your water bottle. You're guilty until proven innocent in France, etc. And then I realized, I remembered all of the people we had met on the front lines who don't have a choice. We don't have a choice or that put themselves in harm's way. And so I was very moved by this and felt that, wow, here I am kind of considering risks to my personal safety. There are so many people who don't have access to clean water or good food, as we know, or who have suffered from extractive industries. So I wanted to share some of these stories today because I think as a community, I'm very interested in knowing how I can be in solidarity and support solutions that really take into account these stories and these people. So this is the red lines in Paris. It turned out on the day of the morning of the demonstration, the government allowed it in the end, but we didn't know that when we got there. These are three Quechua leaders from the Ecuadorian Amazon, Ana Santi, Miriam Cisneros, and Patricia Golina. And they have been successful in halting all oil extraction on their lands. Since COP21, their lands have been sold to a Chinese oil company. Their community has been tortured, attacked violently, and suffered many forms of intimidation. They have a living forest proposal as a means to really maintain the ecosystems in the Amazon, which are the lungs of the earth. This is Nigel Kelaepa. He's a representative of the atoll in Hong Java in the Solomon Islands. And I met him while the talks were going on, and he said that, you know, even with 1.5 C rise in temperature, his people would need to leave his island in 10 years. They have brackish water, eroding coastlines, and his language and customs would be lost. This is Viviano Rivera. Maybe you saw him on the video. He's from the Philippines. There was a big demand climate justice coalition working at the COP, and they were really trying to focus on climate justice, on the global south, and really getting voices heard. He made a great point that Typhoon Haiyan happened at 0.87 degree rise in temperature. Right after the COP, there was another serious typhoon in the Philippines. So this is an existential threat right now. So when we think about solutions that might take 5, 10, 20, 30 years to work, we really have to remember the people for whom this is an existential threat right at this moment. This is Candy Mossett. We saw her in many different venues. This is an indigenous flotilla. She's from North Dakota, and she's talked a lot about being at the epicenter of genocide, ecocide, fracking is happening there. There's a lot of sexual violence in the camps in the Bakken. So very moving stories there. Oops. This is Casey Kampornak, and she brought forward many, many things. She's from Oklahoma, a Ponca Nation elder, and IEN is Indigenous Environmental Network. We met many people involved there. And one of the things she brought forward was a 7-generation principle, that in all of our actions, if we think about 7 generations forward, then that really helps keep us in balance. Nima Namadamu from the DRC, she's a peace movement rights activist, and she's also acknowledged Africa's been subject to colonialism for many years, and people making decisions without input from people. And she said, we need to, like right now, we need to plant trees. We need to do that. We need the oxygen, then negotiate all you want. So again, just kind of bringing it back home. So one of the key demands, of course, is keep fossil fuels in the ground. This is a Women for Climate Justice little contingent. You can see the Eiffel Tower. This was on the Champs Élysées the last day, right after the red lines. And at the Indigenous Pavilion, at the Green Zone, there were many, I wish I could show you all of them, there were many of these posters, handmade, but a big thing was stop false solutions to climate change. So no large hydro dams, no nuclear energy, no biofuel plantations, no tar sands, no to carbon trading, and no to land grabs. By the way, I think a carbon fee and dividend is a good thing. It is one thing among many. It's something that we need to make sure it's done right with respect for Indigenous peoples. Whoops. And so I wanted just to take a couple of minutes. I just had a stopwatch, so I stand there.
Give her an extra.
I know, I did a stopwatch, so I actually, no, yeah, it's 3 minutes. I full time. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what my big insight as far as solutions. And I chose this image from the Rights of Nature Tribunal because I thought it was a great image. It's showing really, I think, the web of life as well as the fossil fuel extraction in the shadows. And I wanted to propose, how do we evaluate any proposed solutions? And I think that the number one thing we need to do is to have systems-based thinking and holistic thinking. And we really need to look at the entire web of life. How can we support it? We need to look at clean water. We need to look at food security. And we need to have solutions that respect women's rights, Indigenous rights, the rights of nature, and the rights of future generations. One of the things I wanted to mention was something that's close to home these days is the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. And I think that when we think about climate solutions, we need to think about things like that too. Renewable energy, great. Carbon pricing, great. A lot of these things, but that doesn't address some of the structural issues in our economy, racism, environmental racism, poverty, and many forms of inequality. So I think these are the kind of things that we need to think about. I wanted to mention one example that I think is a good one is Project Drawdown is looking at 140 integrated solutions, and is looking at them from a systems perspective. How do they work together? How can they have cascading benefits? How can they be implemented with respect to Indigenous peoples? And it's also looking at possible cascading problems. So anytime we have a technical solution, we really need to look at the whole picture. So I think, I just have like a second left here. I just want to say, because my organization is Climate Compassion, so I just wanted to end with this really, just like a moment of reflecting on our sincere wish for the well-being of the whole web of life that's alive right now, and the past generations, our ancestors, and for future generations to come, 7 generations and beyond. And for me, Climate Compassion is really climate action. So I'll end with that. Thank you so much.